January 30th, 2026. 3.5 million pages. Hundreds of thousands of images, thousands of videos, all released at once. Documents connected to one of the most disturbing criminal investigations in modern history. The network surrounding Jeffrey Epstein. And the world we knew changed suddenly to an actual hell. For years, people believed the story ended when Epstein died in 2019. But the newly released files suggest something far more unsettling. Because the documents don't just describe a predator. They describe a system. A system where wealth, influence, and silence may have protected powerful people for decades. People who we believe to be our leaders. People we believe is shaping the world for a better future. It's been over 50 days after the release of Epstein files, and even now, the question remains: if the evidence is public, why does the system still look the same? In the shadows of power, stories exist that rarely make it into the light. Stories about influence, about secrets, about systems that operate far beyond public view. Tonight's story begins with a name the world already knows: Jeffrey Epstein. But this isn't just the story of a man, it's the story of a network. A network that allegedly connected billionaires, politicians, celebrities, and royalty across continents. A network built on wealth, access, and silence. For years, fragments of the truth have surfaced. Court testimonies, witness accounts, unsealed documents, each piece revealing something darker than the last. But even with millions of pages now public, many of the most important questions remain unanswered. Because when power protects power, truth doesn't disappear. It simply gets deleted. And more often than not, it hides in plain sight. Welcome to Twisted Plots. And tonight we decode the Epstein archives and the compromat empire behind it.
Tonight, we're going to walk through the publicly reported court filings, the flight logs, and the victim testimonies. We are here to trace the evidence, look at the systems involved, and ask the questions that remain completely unanswered.
Disclaimer. Before we continue, a quick note. This episode discusses allegations, testimonies, and publicly reported information connected to the case of Jeffrey Epstein and his associates. Many individuals mentioned in court documents or reports have not been charged with crimes, and being named in these records does not imply guilt. This video presents information drawn from court filings, journalistic investigations, and victim testimony in order to explore the broader questions surrounding the case. Our goal is not to pass judgment, but to examine the evidence, the systems involved, and the unanswered questions that remain. Viewer discretion is advised.
In the late 1970s, Jeffrey Epstein was a high school math teacher. He had no college degree, he had no financial track record, yet somehow, within a few short years, he was managing the wealth of some of the world's richest individuals. A major catalyst for this rise was retail magnate Les Wexner. For nearly 2 decades, Epstein held power of attorney over Wexner's finances. Power of attorney is a legal authorization giving one person the right to manage another's legal and financial affairs.
That piece of paper granted Epstein access to enormous capital and elite social circles. With that access, he acquired a global circuit of private jets and luxury estates, from a townhouse in Manhattan to a private Caribbean island. Behind the veiled-up ropes of those properties, a dark pattern was emerging. In 2005, police in Palm Beach began an investigation after a parent reported her 14-year-old daughter was paid to strip and massage Epstein. Detectives quickly identified 36 teenage girls with similar accounts. Despite the scale of those findings, federal prosecutors hesitated. In 2008, Epstein secured a highly unusual plea deal. He pleaded guilty to state-level charges and served a mere 13 months in a county jail, complete with daily work release privileges. To the outside world, he was a mysterious high-society financier. But the documents show that his public reputation was a facade, built to provide legal and social cover for a recruitment system targeting dozens of young girls. According to victim testimonies, that system operated as a strict pyramid structure. Vulnerable teenage girls were lured in with cash for massages and then heavily pressured to recruit other girls into the fold. Coordinating this logistics machine was Ghislaine Maxwell. Prosecutors established that she played a critical role in finding and grooming minors for the operation. The scope of that operation extended to Epstein's guests. Virginia Giuffre stated under oath that she was directed to have sex with numerous powerful men within Epstein's orbit in the early 2000s.
According to police and prosecutors involved in this criminal investigation, there were no reports from any victims that any of Epstein's high-profile associates were involved. In a 2020 Office of Professional Responsibility (OPR) report, Federal Prosecutor Marie Villafana said, "None of the victims that we spoke with ever talked about any other men being involved in abusing them. It was only Jeffrey Epstein." According to the OPR report, allegations implicating Epstein's famous contacts emerged years later. Private flights, luxury estates, a global circuit of powerful guests, and one aircraft that victims grimly nicknamed the Lolita Express.
The unsealed archives name more than 150 individuals, including Prince Andrew. His name surfaces in flight logs, emails, and court filings, though he repeatedly denied wrongdoing.
Technology leaders such as Bill Gates have also faced scrutiny for meetings with Epstein after his earlier conviction. Gates has acknowledged those meetings but said they were a mistake. U.S. President Donald Trump also appears extensively in the broader archive of Epstein-related materials. A review of documents released in 2026 reportedly identified more than 5,300 files containing over 38,000 references to Trump, members of his family, or his Mar-a-Lago club. In unredacted search results cited by lawmakers, Trump's name allegedly produced over 1 million hits across various records. However, many of those references come from indirect sources: news articles stored in Epstein's emails, FBI tip line submissions containing unverified allegations, transcripts, and mentions in victim interviews. Trump also appears in historical flight logs, with records indicating he flew on Epstein's private jet several times during the 1990s. Trump has previously stated that he later cut ties with Epstein and has denied any involvement in Epstein's crimes. Trump is not the only political figure whose name appears in the files. Former U.S. President Bill Clinton appears in flight records and travel documents tied to Epstein's private aircraft.
The network penetrated deep into the technology and business sectors as well. Being named in the files is not an admission of guilt. Many were simply witnesses or social guests. But the scale of these connections shows that Epstein managed to aggregate an extraordinary concentration of global power. Why did so many titans of industry and government continue to interact with him even after he was a registered sex offender? In these circles, frequent interaction provides the necessary proximity for the gathering of leverage. Investigators and journalists have spent years exploring a specific hypothesis. The documents suggest that the abuse functioned as a method of gathering leverage on his powerful guests, recording their personal habits, studying their preferences, and their hidden secrets. Multiple witnesses, including former staff, described extensive hidden surveillance systems inside the properties in Manhattan and Palm Beach. Cameras were reportedly tucked into decorative objects and positioned directly in guest rooms. Artist and former employee Maria Farmer testified about a dedicated media room in the New York townhouse. She described walls of monitors displaying live video feeds from private areas all over the residence. In the intelligence community, this is the definition of compromat. It's compromising material used to ensure a target's ongoing cooperation through silent, unspoken threats. Despite the witness accounts and receipts for motion-activated cameras, a definitive archive of blackmail tapes has never been publicly confirmed. Ghislaine Maxwell denied their existence, and some accusers' claims about specific tapes were later retracted. But when federal agents raided his properties in 2019, they seized large amounts of digital media and electronic equipment. The full contents of those drives remain sealed. If those recordings do exist, the lingering question is who currently holds them. The protective shell around Epstein was visible long before 2019. Back in 2008, U.S. Attorney Alexander Acosta negotiated a plea agreement that bypassed federal trafficking charges, allowing Epstein to leave jail up to 12 hours a day to work from his office. The most alarming part of that agreement was a broad immunity clause. It effectively shielded any unnamed potential co-conspirators from prosecution. The victims were never notified before the ink dried, a move later ruled to violate the Crime Victims' Rights Act. When public pressure finally forced his rearrest in 2019, the narrative abruptly halted. On August 10th, Epstein was found dead in his cell. That night, 2 surveillance cameras outside his door malfunctioned. His guards fell asleep, and just days prior, he had been removed from suicide watch. With the central figure gone, the trail went cold. It leaves us asking if a man connected to the most powerful people on Earth avoided justice through clever legal maneuvering, or if the justice system itself was designed to look the other way. When millions of pages hit the internet, you might expect a total collapse of institutions. But after a brief spike of outrage, the headlines faded. There were no massive protests demanding answers. The world simply moved on. Psychologists refer to this as moral fatigue. When a scandal involves too many powerful people, the public feels powerless. We are naturally inclined to trust authority, because confronting the failure of those systems is deeply uncomfortable. Geopolitical turmoil and the high-volume noise of international conflict often fill the news cycle precisely when sensitive findings emerge. Right as this massive archive dropped, global attention was fractured. International conflicts and escalating wars dominated the screens, pulling eyes away from these findings. The arrival of geopolitical chaos created a thick smokescreen. With civil unrest filling the news cycle, it became difficult for the public to focus on the reality of the files. This focus effectively steers public attention away from these documents, leaving necessary questions unasked. Epstein is gone, and his immediate accomplices are in prison, but systems of this scale rely on connections and silence rather than any single individual. They run on the shared need for self-preservation. Today, countless individuals who frequently traveled in that orbit, who appeared in those logs, continue to shape global policy and culture as if those documents never surfaced. We expect societal collapse to arrive with sirens and immediate, visible destruction. But the evidence suggests something much quieter.
The Epstein story was never just about one man. It was about access, influence, and a world where power often moves in private rooms far away from public scrutiny. Maybe the truth will eventually emerge. Maybe the remaining documents will reveal something we still don't understand. Or maybe the most disturbing possibility is this: that the story we've already seen is only a small part of something much larger. Because throughout history, scandals involving powerful networks rarely end with a single revelation. Even if the allegations are as serious as abusing children, they fade, they fragment, and slowly, they disappear into the background of history. Until one day, another story emerges, another network, another scandal, and the cycle begins again. This was Twisted Plots, and this was the story of the Epstein Files.